Hi friends, welcome to Willinrow Arts. I'm Leslie, and today I really want to make a miniature in a can. You can see I have a couple here that I've done, and then we have my Home Alone in a can. And my Home Alone one, I think, was the last one that I made, and that was last Christmas, and I really want to make another one. So let's get started. We have a coffee can. You need a handy dandy fairy light. Need to get my glue gun going so they roll. So it's always good to make yourself a little base. You could even just use some basic glue dots. I just added some glue dot to keep it from rolling. Instead of using my hand drill, I just had a nail, tap, 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 made a hole for my fairy lights. The first thing I want to do is string my fairy lights. Excuse me if I sound off, I have another cold. Have our fairy lights ready to go. What I want to make this time is a old stone cottage, maybe not lived in, just an old stone cottage on a country road. It's an autumn scene, just something cozy and autumn vibes. That's my plan. First, we need to insert our fairy lights. I just go ahead and glue my fairy light on the back. I do it in such a way that you can get to the battery compartment if you need to change batteries. Every can I approach a little differently. If you create something like that, you could decorate your can, you can turn it into a log, you can turn it into a stone structure, you can do whatever you want. I like the idea of knowing that this diorama is inside a coffee can, so I don't want to disguise it. So I'm gonna go ahead and glue my lights in. So we have all our lights glued in there. It's not pretty, it doesn't need to be, it's going to be hidden. I like the idea of the blue behind the white because it kind of gives that tone of a, I don't know what you call it, like after it rains, it's kind of grayish, bluish, you know, that feel. So I'm just brainstorming different techniques I want to use to put the background layer on. And I think what I've come up with is I'm going to use some blue tissue paper and then I'm going to cover that with cotton batting. I feel like that will give like a wispy, cloudy background. So we got our start of our backdrop. Cozy, cloudy day. So I want to get the ground layer set. We are going to use cereal box, getting our base layer in, our ground layer in. So what I always want to do is I want to work with the curvature of the can. So that's a good start. Now we're gonna work in this air drying clay. When I use air drying clay, I like to add a glue layer down first. I don't know if it's necessary for it to stick, but I always do it and it hasn't failed me yet. So I'm just gonna continue doing what I do. We could do the same thing with a paper mache, but this air drying clay is, I hardly use it and it's just gonna go bad on me. So I'm just gonna use this. So I added in all that air drying clay just basically to use it up. It's going to get hidden, but now I could say I used it. And I'm just sketching with my paintbrush and little tools the landscape of where I want things to be. So I know I want this like curved road, so I'm sketching in here. It's very tricky to see. So I just wanted to let you know what I'm doing. And then the next part we'll get to is ground cover. And then that will define everything. So this is the air drying clay that I do like. Same brand. This doesn't get your hand dirty like the terracotta. So this is gonna be the road. It's gonna go off around the bend back there. And then there's gonna be a cottage sitting here. Hi friends, it is voiceover Leslie here. I was in full mode cold at this point where I was recording and I forgot to set up my microphone correctly. So I'm gonna voice over for a little bit. This air drying clay is now dry. It looks funny, but again, it's the underneath of my landscape. I'm just adding some play sand in to start defining the road area. I'm spraying some isopropyl alcohol to saturate the sand, and then I'll add some watered down glue on top, and that will help the glue soak through. I'm giving the ground layer a base coat of brownish black paint. Starting to add my grass layer in with some fine turf foliage. Next, I'm making the base layer for my stone house, just really simple, not even perfect cuts. I have not measured anything here. I am just visually looking at what fits best for the diorama and where I want this house to be placed. So I have basic equal sides. We have a front and a back. And now we're going to do the sides of a house where we have the peak. I'm just roughly pencil sketching where I want the peak to be. I can trim as needed later on. I'm making some faux windows and door for this house, so I'm just drawing where I want the window to be placed on the side of the building And then I am making a little faux front here just to get an indentation basically of the shape of the windows in the door, so it's not just a flat drawing on the front of the house. It'll have some dimension to it. I glued the front piece on with a tacky glue, and everything is a little just rough around the edges. Everything will be covered. I will be giving the house a base coat of brownish black. To make the window panes, I'm going to use embroidery thread, which I stiffened with glue. I'll let that dry, and then I'll paint it and add it to the window area. I'll be adding diamond glaze to the window area to make it look like glass panes. Next, I'll be gluing down the stiffened embroidery thread for the window panes. Next, I'll be taking some stiffened jute string. I'm going to hammer the string flat, and basically once I'm done, they'll look like miniature wooden planks for the door. Now it's time to make some cobble for the cobblestone house. I am just tearing up some 8 carton into teeny little bits, and then I'll be gluing that all over the house, and that will give it a fun stone texture. Now I'm going to make shingles just using basic printer paper. I'm just going to cut it in uneven little snips and glue that in sections, and that will be my shingles. Then I'll be giving the roof a coat of black paint. I added a little dry brushing of white here and there just to bring out some of the textures. Adding a little chimney made out of balsa wood. Let's start adding some foliage in. I have some cut up sponge that I painted and then I cut up in bits. And I also have clump foliage that I bought from Amazon. Officially gluing in the stone house. The trees in the background, I just used sticks from outside that I glued the sponge material to. Adding a little moss to the house. Adding in some granite-like stone steps to the front of the house. Adding in some coffee grounds to represent soil. You of course have to use coffee grounds in a coffee can diorama. Hi friends, it's been a few days here. I'm feeling a little bit better. So next I want to make a fence. So I cut up a bunch of different fence posts, different sizes. I want the fence up here larger here than back there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these fence sizes. I have some that are like way too big, but see the difference? Just so you know, there's like different sizes. I'm going to glue them together in such a way it's slightly larger in the front and then goes off in the background. Not hugely different, but a little bit. I made these on my computer and then I cut them out with my laser cutter just because it's easy. And I'm just going to glue them together. Like so, you'll glue this one to this one like that. Boop. The first step is just building the fence itself. I want to give it some bendability so I can manipulate it in the can. I'm going to just use a teeny little piece of paper that glues the two together. Regular printer paper. So basically I'm going to take my fence, some of my paper, glue it to one side, then glue it to the other side. So we have the two fences glued together, and now we can bend the fence. It's like a hinge. I'm also going to add some wood glue to the fence posts. This will give it a bit of dimension. Wood glue is great for that because it dries with a raised, slightly thick texture. You could also use dimensional magic, but the wood glue works well and it gives a nice raised effect once it's dry. Trick the eye a little bit with a little glue texture. I have our fence made, my glue texture added. I'm going to paint this fence a brown color. Add it to my diorama here. I glued the fence in with some tacky glue. Needs to dry. We're going to glue the other side of the fence in. Let that dry. I like that. In the meantime, I'm going to make some more trees. Here's a simple, fun way to make easy bendable trees of any size. You take any gauge wire, you take multiple strands, twist those together. You can twist together as many or as little wire as you want for your thickness of branches. I used bent wire. You can use individual strands of wire, but that's where I snipped the wire in half here. And then I like to add tissue paper on top of my wire. I just use tissue paper with paint and glue mixed together, and I like that texture. You can paint the wire directly. You don't need to add the tissue paper. Now I'm going to add some additional ground cover using dried leaves and that sponge material. I like using dried leaves. I think it adds a good texture, and to make it cohesive, I'll add a little sponge material as well. I'm going to add a little dry brushing of white to bring out the fence more because I feel like it's kind of disappearing a little bit.
What's that? What's that? Why is there some black paint on your face? I have paint on my face? Oh, forgot to turn it off.
So now it's just to add more, a little bit more zhuzh here and there. Just let's add in some different textures for funsies. Added a couple birds in the background just for a little added touch. I'm very happy with this. I love it when an idea in my head comes out looking the way I think it's going to look. I really had a fun time with this project. If you made it this far in the video, please comment below and let me know what crafty projects you are working on. I love to hear what everyone's doing. If you enjoy what I do, please like and subscribe. If you're watching from the TV, you can just click right on my icon using your remote, and the subscribe button will come right up. Thanks for watching, everybody.